The Austrian army under Field Marshal Karl Mack was stuck on the wrong side of the Danube. The French had moved so quickly and had locked up the Austrian army where there was but one area left open for the Austrians to try and escape. Mack assigned an older general by the name of Johann Sigismund Graf von Riesch and a force of 16,000 to maintain control of the town of Ober Elchingen, a crossroads that would need to be held on the north side of the Danube to have a route of escape. Born in 1750, Riesch grew up in Saxony, but joined the Austrian army in 1773 as a cavalry officer. He later fought in the War of Bavarian Succession, the Austro-Turkish War, the French Revolutionary Wars, and the Napoleonic Wars. While he took some blame for the Austrian defeat in the War of the Second Coalition, unfairly for what it's worth, he was given a corps to command in the Third Coalition, and during the Ulm campaign was asked to protect the Elchingen crossroads. The encirclement arranged by Napoleon was a function of the speed and determination of the French army. Their movement was so fast that they outpaced the Austrians, and neither side knew exactly where the other was. At Elchingen, the French were led by Marshal Michel Ney, named by Napoleon the bravest of the brave, and one of the most charismatic French marshals up to the retreat from Russia. Spoiler alert, he'll be named the Duke of Elchingen by Napoleon for his efforts in this battle. Ney was given the task of taking back the crossroads in question by a very irate Napoleon who fumed that there was still a spot the Austrians could escape north of the Danube when the snare was almost complete on them. Ney was ordered immediately with all haste to take it back, where we now have the battle in question. Thanks to the guys at Little Wars TV who wrote and crafted the scenario that we're playing, this map shows the simplified battlefield. The town of Ober Elchingen overlooked the crossroads that was the key objective of this battle. The French under Ney deployed south of the Danube, which was crossable only at the bridge south of the crossroads. Historically, the Austrians held a line on the heights and utilized the abbey as a fortified point of defense. With that being said, let's take a moment and talk about the rules being used, and then let's get into our game. Age of Eagles, like its ancestor Fire and Fury, is a grand tactical war game. It focuses on command and control affected by the attrition of warfare. Unlike Fire and Fury, the close combat is where the breaking of forces occurs in Age of Eagles. This is indicative of the level of technology of the time. Whereas Fire and Fury has a firing range for infantry of about 8 inches, the primary infantry of Age of Eagles has a range of 2 inches. 4 inches if you have forces that utilize skirmishers. Stands of soldiers indicate the size of the various commands, and there is stand removal from firing, close combat, and from the condition and morale state of the units when orders are issued. We'll have a more thorough review of Age of Eagles in a later video on our website. Based on the Little Wars TV scenario we are using, which is designed to be an introductory scenario, there are 2 considerations to determine the victor. First, when either side takes 30% casualties based on the number of stands they have involved in the scenario, that side will quit being exhausted. Also, the control of Ober Elchingen provides a bonus to the number of victory points. This is historically the key to the battle. Finally, the number of worn and spent units will additionally determine the winner. As noted earlier, this introductory scenario was written by the Little Wars TV Club. And the thing about war games is the rule set and the scenario combine to make an interpretation of war of the time, much like a historian's interpretation of primary sources. The scenario provides flexibility for Austrian deployment north of the Danube. To start this war game, the Austrians put their forces not on the heights as they did historically, but below them to hopefully better control the bridgehead and to make the French crossing as difficult as possible. Deploying of the Austrian troops below the heights does provide some pause for Ney's forces to move forward. The Austrian artillery punishes the initial foray across the bridge, and as the cavalry and artillery reserve for the French arrive on the second turn, the staging area for the French gets to be very crowded indeed. On the 4th turn, the 9:30 turn, the French have a 50-50 chance for Mailer's division to arrive on the east side of the board. They arrive on time, which totally changes the complexion of the battle. With both sides fully invested, the battle quickly devolves into close combat. At 10:30, Villette's brigade for the French holds the bridgehead and fends off the combined force of Herman's grenadiers and Guingde's line troops. On the east side of the field, Mescary's force gets decimated by the combined efforts of French dragoons and Rouget's Laguerre. By 11 o'clock, the battle is on in earnest. The French division of Malher continues the pressure from the French right. The Austrians, hampered by some timidity and poor activation rolls, try to press on the French left, but they're hampered by the stubborn defense of Villette's brigade.
So this is what the battlefield looks like at 11:30 in the morning. The French brigade right here has just done yeoman's work, taking a whole wing of the Austrian army out of the equation. The French allies, or the French reinforcements, have come trucking up the eastern road here and are now threatening the main victory point of the game. The Austrians are starting to rally back to this to try and hold the town of Elchingen. These guys over here, the French, they wiped out one of the lead brigades of the Austrian army that has ventured too far away, trying to cause a panic. The French have the advantage right now, and we'll see where it comes to next. As we get set to begin the 1200 term, the Austrians finally have some luck taking out 3 stands of the French army at various points of the battlefield. But the pressure the French put on continues to grow. They start moving an artillery unit around to get some better positioning. This unit has moved in and controlling the abbey now and protecting themselves against artillery. A massive charge combat has occurred at the town of Elchingen, and the French won that. Marshal Ney, still controls the center. He's not attached to this unit, but this unit is doing yeoman's work, even though it has taken its first casualties and is back down to its worn status. And if I'm using the Fire and Fury terms, I'm sorry, that's just how long I've been playing that. Still disorders everywhere, and we move to the 12 o'clock turn. And shortly after noon, the battle comes to a conclusion. The French have eliminated the Austrian artillery. They're pressing hard with fire in the town. A cavalry charge, well-timed, hits an Austrian unit in the flank, and they rout. While the Austrians have a good position here, they're going to be forced to withdraw, especially as one of their main defensive units runs out of ammo. The French will hold the town and be able to finish the trap on Colonel Mack.